Okay, welcome. First topic for today is mine. Just want to start planning for cross-zone group replication. Sina, I know that you have a ton of work already in this direction. I think there are some open design questions. I had made a pad for that I think we need to agree on first, and then based on that, plan, I guess, how to break this up and sequence it for the next release. I know that Shilpa is also interested in this. Don't see her here, but I guess I'm curious whether this is something that we should maybe create a separate weekly or bi-weekly meeting for, or if we should just use this meeting for discussion.
Yeah, I do agree. Actually, those were my also questions when I started my draft PR regarding this longer replication. I mean, I have some comments regarding those open topics, and when I was trying to implement, so I made the decision based on, I mean, my own for those actually questions. But I guess we need to, discuss it more deeply around which one make more sense, which one doesn't, because both actually work, but just in experience, those just make difficult experiences when somebody is trying to utilize those features. So, I mean, I don't know, should we, I mean, I'm open if this meeting or any separate meeting, we can just start a deep dive, like in which path to take, and I'm happy to help as needed. Sure, thank.
Okay, well, I'll get with Shilpa. Hopefully, we don't necessarily have to wait until next week to follow up. We can just discuss in RGW devel, I guess. But yeah, I just do want to start planning for this. I think it'll probably require a design doc with some level of detail. And then we can figure out which of your PRs have already done stuff and try to start getting things merged.
Agreed. Sure. Waiting for that. Thanks.
All right, let's move on then. Sina, you had added copy encrypted objects. You had just opened a new PR that kind of duplicates Marcus's. So, Sina, Matt, Marcus, somebody want to introduce this, or how should we proceed?
I mean, I can just briefly introduce why I created a new one. I mean, I tried to somehow exactly implement how Marcus tried to solve the problem, but slightly in a different way. I mean, Marcus had tried to create a data processor out of the filter, get object filters, but mine was like actually encapsulate data processor into the filter and make it done. Actually, it was just about just pushing it a little bit forward. I see just the PR is not moving around, and I just was just trying to a little bit play with it and see how can I come with a workable solution. It's both work the same. They just apply those filters of decryption or decompress as needed, and then apply the encryption and compress after, and just pass it through the data process of the writer, atomic writer, in the atomic process in the end, and then write the object, and basically utilizing copy object data when we want to copy, when the source is encrypted or the destination needs to be encrypted. So I mean, in general, in concept, they work the same, but it's just a different implementation regarding the RGW style, which I introduced a general one, which is like, for example, data process factory, which you have actually commented in Marcus's PR that something like that might make more sense. So for example, Marcus's PR was like a little bit more specific to solve the matter, like has some functions in terms of like sets, compressed atters, blah blah. But mine was just a little bit general in terms of like set writer, finalize attributes, and that's it. And then yeah, it was an implementation based on this abstraction that a copy opt was implementing that, and then it just was more detail in actually doing that. So, but I mean, in general, they work both the same. So it's not actually doing anything that Marcus VR is not doing. So it's just a matter of different software implementation and coding implementation whatsoever. But I'm not insisting on mine. So I was just trying to just a little bit pushing it forward because I mean, just our business needed that, so I just tried to implement something to just backport it internally. So I was like, let's just push it in upstream in case it would be needed. But if we are happy with market implementation, sure, I'll just close it up. But I mean, they are passing the test that I've attached to my PR, which generates something like 400 tests in terms of just any matrix of decompression, compression, decrypting, encrypting, all those matters. So actually, a full set of tests we have that we can test the PR. So that's not a, I guess, problem anymore. With the also Casey, you just introduced the compression to the QA unit and also the key existent and unchecked. So we don't need any vault CLI to do the testing. So S3 test, I guess, should be ready to test either of PRs. And I guess it should be good to go if we just decide which one to take. And I guess, I mean, it's just an outstanding feature that for 7 years actually, I mean, it's pending, and it would be good if we could actually also kind of release it to Tentacle. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say I think this is a failure of process, and I don't know who's entirely responsible for it. But when this PR has existed, the fixes that we shipped changes in our downstream product for over a year. This shouldn't have happened. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't happen again. To be timely in fixing things, and we should merge the changes and then fix them and implement the fixes. That's my personal view.
So let's see, for me, when I went through and recently did the copy object encryption, there was definitely sort of a fight between basically two different models of how the filters worked. If it sounds like this other PR might have a cleaner approach to that, which might actually be something to celebrate. There are a couple of different cases of replication to worry about. I don't know if it sounds like there's a very extensive set of tests for this, but I don't know if they cover all of the cases that we found that we had to cover with my PR. The copy object itself has a bunch of different cases that involve compression and so on and so forth. It's also important to worry about storage class transitions, which I don't know if that's covered or not. And there's another special case that involves cross-site replication.
Well, actually, okay. I mean, I just wanted to comment on so the test actually covers both storage class transfer and also a lifecycle transition. So both are covered in the street test, but about the cross-site replication, that's true, exactly. That is also something, I mean, I had a fix in a separate PR that Casey and I had a discussion, and there was two approaches to take. Either we decrypt on the source side and encrypt only on the second side, or we do the decryption encryption on the second side, which then it was kind of like a requirement from either of one of these PRs to introduce that pipe, so we can utilize to actually fix also the cross site replication when we do have any encryption in place that needs. I mean, actually, it's only about SSE-S3 encryption, because SSEC or KMS, when you replicate them, they should be actually keep what is being encrypted in the source, because you cannot re-encrypt them with any bucket replication policies. It's only about SSE-S3 because they are bound to bucket, and they can be going to another bucket, which then use a different bucket key. So that's only for SSE-S3 case, but that is also an open PR there to fix it, which now depends on either one of these PRs to introduce that pipe, so that can be utilized to decrypt and encrypt on the second. So that was Case's idea, that maybe that would be easier than just decrypted and encrypted on the source and then encrypted on the second set.
So we're talking specifically about bucket replication policy, replicating from one bucket to a different one with a different encryption policy. Is that the same case that you're talking about, Marcus?
May have the same policy. It can't. There's two cases to it. There's one case where you're replicating within one RGW environment, and there's another case where you're replicating between two different RGW environments, if I remember right. You were speculating that you could decrypt and encrypt in the same place. I don't think you can do that, because you don't know if you can access the keys. I would suggest that you should be decrypting on the source and encrypting on the destination.
Actually, there was so when the skip decrypt argument has been introduced in not just in a replication API, the motivation behind was the call to fetch the object needs to have the attributes enough to decrypt the key, decrypt the object if needed. So the motivation in decrypting and encrypting on the second side was to include the key as an attribute to the fetch object and do the decryption and encryption based on the key that has been fetched from the vault on the source and being appended to the attributes when the call is made to fetch the object. But that's true, yeah, the key is only available in the source.
That sounds messy and complicated, but
Well, yeah, I think that sounds like a blemish in the or problem in this approach.
Marcus, is this multi-site stuff something that your PR already addresses, or is it?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we went through a big round of testing that stuff. That was something the QE folks identified.
I mean, this is kind of jumping ahead, but is it plausible that this behavior could be added to the work that Christina has done, so we get a single PR with?
If he's built on top of my work, he may already have some of that functionality in there.
Well, I mean, you would be the best judge of that. I don't know if that's the case. I think Christina is saying it's not the case. I mean, he's obviously read your work. There's one commit out of 5 or 6, but maybe it's more than that that's taken from your PR and others are not. And I didn't attempt to figure out whether they had, to what extent they do the same thing, quote unquote, as Christina was explaining. But it sounds like.
The only way I know for sure to actually figure out what's covered and not would actually be to try things out.
Well, it seems like the strategy to decrypt the source and encrypting the destination is fairly clear intent in the logic. Am I making sense, Katie?
I didn't catch all of what you said. Not sure what's up with your mic.
Am I audible now? Probably not as cleanly.
I do hear you, but it's not completely clear.
Now? Okay.
I think so.
So it seems like the original Marcus work and Susan's work differ in this differ in respect to the transition of caveat of encrypted objects and multi-sided at the very least. And it sounds to me like from what Marcus explains, that PR has the better approach for doing that.
Yeah.
It sounds like in other respects, the CNPR is probably closer to what we want. Is that also true in your view, Casey?
I mean, Sina's PR did address some of my review comments, especially around object lifetimes on Marcus's PR. But it sounds like Marcus's PR has had a lot more downstream testing around the multi-site stuff. Ideally, that would be upstream tests that we could run in Toothology, but I think that would involve setting up vault and multi-site jobs, and
So what should we do?
that's not too hard.
We move forward to do something quickly to get something merged that we know will fix what is an important issue for
Just one quick thing. I mean, just regarding the the replication case, I haven't seen how this is being addressed in Marcus's PR. I mean, the thing that we try to work around is the PR that I mentioned in the pad, and also put a link here. It's something that we need to kind of like kind of handle it in fetch remote obj stuff. I mean, this PR actually is doing the decryption on source and encrypting on the second side, but the whole thing that needs to be changed is completely different from what I see in the Marcus PR. So I mean, I'm now confused now how that is addressing this matter. I mean, are we maybe talking about different case that it might not be the case? Because the only case that I think of is SSC S3 encryption, not any other encryption in replication. Because any other encryption case in replication needs to be kind of keep what is being encrypted in source and just replicate it to the destination.
I forget my reasoning at this point, but when I was going through and working through the various encryption cases, I found more and more cases where it was important to decrypt and then re-encrypt.
So perhaps maybe a test case would help to kind of like see which case was it.
I think there is one optimization I did not end up doing, and that was trying to, let me think about this. I don't think I made a distinction between compression and encryption. So it's very likely my PR is decompressing and recompressing when ideally it would not.
I mean, all of the changes that, I mean, both our PRs are being doing is about RGW copy opt, which is only utilized on copy object S3 API. But the replication uses a different get object API, which actually is dealing with the script decrypt or stuff when fetch remote object function is being called. So should be something that I can't see that in either of PRs is being addressed anyhow. It's only the third PR that I pasted is trying to kind of like resolve this by asking the decryption from the source and do the encryption on the destination side.
Again, this is one of those things where I don't remember all the details, but I do remember ignoring replication at first, running into it, discovering I had to fix it. And my recollection is that the replication actually had two cases. There's one case where you're replicating between two different sites, and you're doing a remote copy. And then there's another flavor where you're replicating within a single site, and then you're starting to then that gets into the copy object path.
I'm not familiar with that latter case where we call something replication that's a local copy.
Like I said, I don't remember all the details, but that seemed to me to be one of the problems I ran into.
Yeah, I mean, same also, I can't remember if we do any copy object when we do replication. So, I mean, maybe a test case would help, or either we keep them separate. I mean, we only now focus on fixing this tracker, which only, address the copy object within the same site with the S3 API copy object, and take the latter in a different PR or scenario how to deal with. Or if you have a test case which, kind of like show how this is being utilized, that would definitely help, because I'm confused myself.
Yeah, the last time I went looking for my notes on the cross-site replication, they were a little more fragmented than I wanted. But I can dig through them again and see if I have better notes.
So to Sina's point about merging copy without encryption, or sorry, without replication support, I feel like that would be a regression in multi-site, in that copied objects wouldn't be able to replicate. And I don't think that we want to accept a regression like that.
How does the replication would be introduced? Because right now this is something that would happen. So if you have a cross bucket replication enabled already, it will keep what is encrypted as a source, which is a different bucket key, and will be bounded in the destination to another bucket, which would then cause the problem if the source bucket is deleted, and the key would be gone. So you cannot decrypt that. But yeah.
Okay, so you're saying this is already an issue without copy object in the picture at all?
Correct, because the one that we actually we return not implemented is only in copy object data, which is only utilized by the S3 API. But the other one, replication, calls the get object through the fetch remote object, which doesn't call the copy object stuff, so it doesn't return any not implemented something, actually just replicate from how it's encrypted in the source and just keep it in destination bounded to another bucket key.
Right, okay. I guess I'm not clear on what the issue is with copy object and multi-site? Is it just that the resulting encryption attributes weren't being handled by sync? It's hard to tell from the changes in Marcus's PR. I don't see anything for fetch remote object, which is what I would expect to be the relevant part. So, Sina, thank you for writing all of the S3 tests. I think that helps a whole lot, but it's hard to validate this for multi-site without tests there. I could definitely help with the Toothology stuff to set up an RGW multi-site suite with vaults, but we would need to also add test cases for the cases we care about.
Yes, sure. I mean, those doesn't really care about the replication, but I guess so. I mean, maybe I'm just a little bit confused. Should we take them separately? Because these PRs, I mean, either Marcus or I, for this tracker that we talk about regarding the copy object that returns not implemented, would address anything regarding the replication. So should we just for now ignore the replication and just fix the copy object? I mean, RGW copy object class to just support the encryption and decryption stuff, or I mean, do we want to address both at the same time? Because yeah, I mean, if we want to address both at the same time, we need test cases. But if one, I guess, can we ignore that actually?
Well, I guess I'm just still unclear on what issues Marcus hit in testing that needed fixing.
Oh, I see.
I would say there's two different basic test scenarios you should be setting up. There's one of them where you should set up cross-site replication between two entirely different Ceph clusters. And the second replication case that you should set up is one that's got one Ceph cluster with, I guess, two different realms.
They would be two different zones.
Two different zones, right.
And generally it doesn't matter whether they're hosted on the same cluster or a different Ceph cluster.
My recollection is it turned out to matter, but this was a while ago, so I could be misremembering.
I mean, but okay, then if we can just set it up, I guess it should be easy to just also add it at the same tests for the replication, because we just need to backvote the same that we implemented in S3 test, bring it here, just make sure that the other bucket is created in another zone, and then run all the tests, make sure that everything work as expected. But I mean, we should take some steps because, for example, the bug that I reported regarding the third PR I mentioned is about that source bucket gets deleted, then a regression would be happen. So we need to kind of like play a little bit more around with that. But actually, that might be valid for the single site copy object replication. Sorry, copy object API. So that should be possible, sure.
There's one comment you said early on I didn't quite understand. You said something about leaving out Vault or something?
You mean regarding the Vault CLI in your test project, actually, that you mentioned in your PR? I mean, that's CLI actually, that's a while API is call to make sure the key is there or not, or a different thing.
I'm not sure. You said something about, and my impression is you were maybe testing without vault, but you went by quickly, so I don't remember.
No, I was saying that there's a regression regarding the replication that will happen if the source bucket is deleted and the key will get
Okay.
deleted. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's bound still.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think there's still some uncertainty around the multi-site issue, but is there a way that we can get copy object support into the tentacle release? It's already quite late. We're talking about cutting a release candidate very soon. How can we get enough confidence in either of these to include it in the release?
Well, for my PR, as far as I can tell, the two issues are maybe some weird link problems and possibly problems running the make test stuff. I had one of the commits I had in there was something that changed around how some of the link ordering worked, and that was necessary when I did it, but there seems to have been other rearrangements. So I tried dropping that PR or that commit just now and building without it, and it builds. So I might have that resolved, but I might not. And I don't know what to say about make tests in Ubuntu, that sort of big unknown area.
Yeah, Jenkins checks have been an issue. Could I ask you to push your changes to Ceph CI and iterate on the shaman builds until they pass?
Yeah, sure.
The make check on your PR did complain about a test RGW POSIX driver, which is from your PR.
Okay, I can certainly try to push it through Jenkins and see what happens.
Okay, yeah, that at least we can get through Toothology against Sina's S3 tests.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the information, I tried to run the tests for my PR and they apparently are passing by, so the test looks valid at least. Should not not throwing any error. But that PR is also I mean if either our implementation or it's either implementation is good to go, but that one also is ready to.
So any suggestions for the multi-site test coverage?
Well, it sounds like you have sort of a corner on setting up vault and multi-site and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, I could help with the YAML for that stuff if we know what test cases we would need to write.
Yeah, it sounds like Sina's tests could be easily set up to try to fool around with the replication.
Well, his are just S3 tests, which are against a single.
Okay, so they're not checking to see what's on. They wouldn't check to see what's in the destination bucket.
Correct. An S3 test is usually just creating and deleting temporary buckets. So
Right. Okay. So it would need to be reorganized to try that.
I mean,
And I
those
mean, if
tests.
go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that those tests actually would verify on the destination bucket whether the object has been written, and when it tries to get the object, check the headers that it's being correctly encrypted with the targeted, request, whatever it's gonna be, and then the content is correct. So I guess those could be easily backported to the RGW multi-site test suite. Just needs to a little bit modification on how to create the destination bucket to just to make sure that it's also on a destination zone. So I guess that should do the job, perhaps.
Sounds like you have most of a test then.
Yeah, and also I guess there are two cases in replication. One is either again utilizing copy object API, saying that my destination bucket is in another zone, or you set up a replication rule that doing that via the multi-site coroutines. So we might need to cover both actually.
That remote copy thing is only for cross zone group, right?
True. Right. So that would never happen. I mean, that would happen the same as the single site would handle. So it should be only spawning a replication rule in towards a different bucket and then let it do. But then it's not that as the same as the street test because the verification is the same, but the whole thing before would be different to set it up. But should be easy. I can definitely help if needed.
Okay, I lost track a bit about what you're suggesting. Is this going in the multi-site test suite, or is this running S3 tests in a different configuration?
I guess we can just integrate that with the currently RGW multi-site suite with the different attributes and then run the attribute. I mean, we don't need a different attribute. I mean, if you integrate the vault with the already running clusters to run the multi-site tests, then we already have it. Then we just need to add the test case to also this matter. Or if you want to take it a different cluster with the vault integrated, then we can play with the attributes to run only those tests forward and skip those tests for other test cases.
Hi. Seen, I'm not very clear. So would you be able to just write down what exactly you want to test with multi-site and your PR, make a comment on your PR, and then maybe we can, help there and follow up?
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely draft the test cases in the PR that actually do the testing, but it just need the YAML integration for the QA unit. But then it would be more clear what I have in mind. It just, in a nutshell, it would be just spawn a two buckets, two different zones, create a replication rule, point this one to that one, and then upload to the source, let it be replicated to the destination, make sure that the content is being is the same when you get it, and then the headers for the encryption are there as needed. But I can draft it so it would be more clear. I'll take care of this. True.
Okay, and just curious, in your PR for the PR 62272, where you're handling fetch remote object, I see a test case. Is this something that you can build upon for copy object? Or is this
Well,
totally
good
different?
thing. Actually, I have forgotten about that PR. Yeah, actually, well, exactly. I actually have a test case already there,
Yeah,
which would be
I see.
the same. Yeah, that how we can deal with the other cases. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any way that we could um, avoid depending on Vault for this stuff, or is SSES3 really the only case that's going to have different keys for the source and destination?
Well, I do believe SSES3 is the case that use the transit engine from Vault to actually drive a key per object. So that would be interesting to utilize Vault in any case. But I guess as it is broken already, probably the test would fail. So maybe we can just skip it for now, or I don't know. I mean that's just my information. And we perhaps needs to test KMS. So I mean I don't know if we can mock Vault for that one because that's just only a normal key value store.
Thinking back on the cross-site replication, I think there are 3 cases of objects that you would want to look at. The simple case would be small objects. The next case to worry about is multi-part objects. And the third case to worry about is an object that was originally uploaded as multi-part and then copied from another bucket.
Regarding the multipart, I'm not sure that whether we do encrypt when we do upload a part before actually
You do.
completing the.
Each part gets encrypted separately.
I see. But then it would be only SSE3 case that if you copy from a part to another bucket, then it needs to be re-encrypted. But if it's again SSEC or SSEKMS, you just need to keep as it is because it would result in the same, no matter what bucket is.
The issue with multi-part objects is that they're byte boundaries inside the object that matter, and there's an attribute that records that when you make a copy.
Which attribute is that? Just
I don't remember.
you don't
Casey would
know.
know.
RGW adder crypt parts. Okay. The multi-site issues that you found in testing, were those related to these multi-part cases to your memory? Because I do
Yeah, I
see
remember,
your,
yes. Yeah, no,
okay.
my recollection is that the QE folks decided to set up replication between two zones, and then they copied an ISO image back and forth.
Yeah, okay. So I do see in your PR fix up manifest two parts len function added that
Yeah.
looks related to that. Okay. So I think the multi-site stuff that you saw was just related to multi-part and not related to cross-bucket replication with different keys. So definitely we should defer that stuff to Sina's PR, including the test coverage. For multi-part replication, could we just add multi-site test cases that use SSEC to reproduce the same issue without needing a vault?
I don't think that reproduces the same case.
Can you not use SSEC for multi-part uploads?
It could, but that's not going to require that you re-encrypt on the destination.
Does your PR re-encrypt on the destination though?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, what part of your PR deals with replication though? I only see copy object changes.
There's some sort of data path in the replication logic that ends up going through copy object.
So fetch remote obj does call copy obj data or some version of, wait.
I think there's a point where it looks at the zones and decides whether it's local or remote.
Right, and we're not testing any of that stuff. And I mean that really only comes up not a cross zone, but cross zone group when the destination bucket isn't actually resident. So I do still think that a very simple multi-site test case doing a multi-part upload with SSEC would at least validate your fix up manifest to parts lens stuff.
Yeah, we'll validate that. Sure.
You buy that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one thing regarding the multi-parts. I mean, AWS does not replicate multi-parts. I mean, not parts, only when the multi-part is completed. And I have seen the same, if I'm not mistaken, in our implementation. I can point you in the code here, this place. We do actually add the log up when it is a complete multi-part. So are you talking about the case that we want to replicate a part to another zone when the multi-part is not completed?
No, I'm only worried about replicating the object once it's been completed.
Okay, so
Yes, replication just uses get obj to stream the entire object, but we have to preserve metadata about where the parts are split because those are encrypted and decrypted separately. And that's what the fix up manifest to parts line is doing there. So I think that's all that's needed. So I'm happy to write a test case. I would just need a branch that I can build to run against. So that test case plus the S3 tests, I think, should be enough to validate Marcus's PR. Still unsure about whether it can actually make Tentacle I guess we'll have to play it by ear.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like I need to play around with make check and try to get Jenkins to successfully build it. So I'll go do that with my branch.
Just a quick question regarding this fix up manifest to parts len. Is this the one that Casey you pointing about this fix?
Yes.
That but that one is only utilized for life cycle transitions, isn't it? Or am I missing something?
I do only see that called by transition obj, yes.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, is this the case that we're talking about LC transition that might break it only? I thought that we are also talking about the case that a copy object API call would call and say that copy from part 1 from another bucket and then bring it in. Something like that.
All I can say about that is that I think that we had gotten the multi-part logic correct previously for multi-site. So I think we had just missed a case with transition obj.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I also backvoted the same, I mean, the actual PR from Marcus to my PR because that was also failing in my LC transition test case from S3. But now I was also thinking about the case for copy object API, which points to a part of another bucket, which might be encrypted with SSES3 different key. So that haven't I thought. I mean, if it also goes through copy object data again, that should do the job. But I haven't write a test case actually to verify that. Which I can probably.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been thinking about multi-part copy part. That seems like test coverage is worth adding for S3 tests.
Yeah, that I can add definitely.
Okay, so the multi-site test case that I had offered to write wouldn't actually cover this because it involves lifecycle, and we don't really have any lifecycle plus multi-site test coverage to add anything to.
Well, actually, again, that was also my confusion because I guess lifecycle objects are not supposed to be replicated. I mean, okay, no, this is only for cross-zone group replication. Because AWS does not offer that, but in zone replication, we need to keep everything identical, so it should be part of it. Right.
Okay, we're running short on time. My last agenda topic was mostly just an announcement that the Ceph upstream releases Slack channel started a thread on the first release candidate for Tentacle. So we'll be starting testing on that pretty soon. And I think there are still some things that haven't merged that we wanted for Tentacle. I asked about this in Slack. I know that dedupe stuff still hasn't merged, and Somya mentioned a PR for restore object.
She has actually just pinged me to review that, and I will start doing that today. I don't know that we'll necessarily get it in, but I will review it.
Okay, so do we have a plan to validate copy object? It sounds like the multi-site lifecycle angle is something that we don't test, but are there any other gaps? Sina, you were going to look at multi-part copy part. Is that something that should block a merge for Tentacle?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I can just do it definitely if, quick as enough. But I can also check that if it goes through the same copy obj data function, then that should be already taken care of. So I guess, I mean, probably we can just either take one of those PRs, do the, code review, and then we can just run the test as it is. And just I can add the multi-part copy multi-part thing as soon as I could. Should be in this week. I guess that shouldn't be a blocker.
Okay, so I think that there would be a preference to take Marcus's PR essentially because it's had the advantage of some additional downstream testing, especially around multi-site, and we know a little bit more about it there. I do think that your version is cleaner in some ways. Maybe maybe after Marcus's merges, you might consider rebasing and just adding your changes on top if you're willing, but that could happen after Tentacle, certainly.
Yeah, no, I put a lot of work into my branch, but having said that, there were certainly places where I was more concerned about immediate results than making it really clean. So Sina may well have a better version, and I really admire all the work you put into working with Toothology and putting tests together and stuff like that.
Sure, I mean, we can just take either of them. Sure, no worries. All good, thanks.
Well, I think I agree with Casey. We should take the refactoring version and improve data processor and so forth as continuous improvement.
All right, well, offline, Marcus, will you just keep me posted on progress with Shaman builds? And
Sure, yeah.
I'll get a Toothology run started as soon as we have
Okay, well, I can push something to, as soon as we get through the meeting, I'll push something to Shaman. And in parallel with that, I'll take a look at make tests and make check.
Sounds great. Okay, we're already over time. Any final thoughts on this? Do we have consensus at least? Okay, thanks so much, guys. See you next time.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.